Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live interview. Today I have Mark. Thanks for jumping on, Mark. Appreciate your time. How are you?
Really well, thanks, Aidan. Absolute pleasure. Really pleased to be part of this process and program, and happy to see where it takes us today. It'll be an interesting chat, I think.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'd love to get straight into it. So obviously, I know you on a professional level, but I'd love to find out a bit more about you as a person, really. So wanted to discover first of all your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was life like as a kid?
I grew up all over the place. Actually, I was born in Sydney, but we moved to Scotland when I was only two and a bit. Lived in Kirkcaldy and actually started school in Kirkcaldy, which is on the Firth of Forth outside Edinburgh. And then we moved across to Renfrew, which is in County Paisley outside Glasgow. And then moved back to Sydney in the early 70s. And the Australians thought I had a Scottish accent and the Scots thought I had an Australian accent. So I sort of mixed in between there for a while. But I went to 6 different primary schools. So we moved to Melbourne after that and back up to Sydney. And so 6 primary schools, 2 high schools. So we moved around a lot, mostly due to my father's work.
Do you remember being in Scotland?
Oh, yeah. I remember. I even remember the trip over. I was old enough to remember the trip over. And I remember when we crossed the equator, they had this special ceremony and I got a bit scared. So I ran back to the cabin and my parents didn't know where I was. So they were all a bit panicked. So that's probably my first ever real memory of going back to the cabin and getting a steward to let me in. And then my parents finding me and being very panicky because we went across by boat in those days. It was the mid-60s, so it was a long time ago. So, yeah, so I remember, and then I remember a lot of Scotland, the woods out the back and some people who we lived next door to, and tobogganing in snow and all those sorts of things, which is very different to Australia.
Yeah. Sounds like a happy, nice childhood.
Look, it was an interesting and diverse childhood. I remember when we came back to Australia saying to my mum, "Do you mean I can go barefoot and I'll see ants?" 2 things. I was about 8. Because one thing in Scotland is you don't go barefoot. It's too darn cold even in summer. And you never see ants. And I was just fascinated by that. And I used to sit on the back step when we came back and just watch ants all day. We had the big green bull ants in our backyard. So
that's really cool.
I have a lot of different memories and a lot of different experiences and of moving around and meeting new people and having to fit in with new people all the time.
So how old were you when you moved back to Australia?
I was 8.
8, okay. Yeah. So you'd have a few memories. What would you say is your earliest memory? Because I always find that quite interesting.
Well, the earliest memory is that one I was telling you about when I went across to on the boat. But I remember a Christmas pageant in Kirkcaldy, and I would have been 3 or 4 in those days. I was playing Joseph, and I was in my winter dressing gown because it looked like a robe. And I remember learning to play football in Renfrew, and our football pitch was concrete because the grass wouldn't grow because obviously it was frozen pretty much all year round. So I learned to play football very differently to when I came back to Australia. The Australians learned how to play football, so it was very different.
Yeah, nice. And what were do you have siblings?
I had a brother. He unfortunately passed about 13 years ago. But yeah, I had a younger brother who was 6 months when we were across and 6 when we came back. So he had virtually no memory of the early days, but certainly had memories coming back.
Mm-hmm. And what were your parents like?
Dad was very strict. Dad was Navy. He had very, very strict. And Mum tried to be a bit softer with that. But yeah, look, they did their best. Moving around was I think very tough on my mother. Dad was there for work, so he went to work and he had that sort of network. But when you move, even in Scotland, we moved 3 times, and then we came back to Sydney and moved twice, then moved to Melbourne, and then came back to Sydney. So all that sort of thing moved around. And I think that impacted my mother's friendship network. She never really had that deep friendship network, whereas my father always had his work people. So it was an interesting way to go.
So did you move around because of your dad's work?
Yeah, mostly because of Dad's work. Yeah, partly he was in the Navy for a long time, and then he was an engineer and just followed where the work was. And actually worked on the new Australian Parliament House. He designed the air conditioning systems and work in there. So
nice.
That was what he was doing.
Would you say they were good parents to you?
Look, my parents and I didn't get on, so no, I don't. They did their best, but we had many many challenges later in our lives.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. And school life, obviously you moved around quite a lot.
Yes.
What was that like?
Look, you learn to how to fit in pretty quickly. Now, I was pretty fortunate. I'm moderately sporty and moderately academic, so I could fit in with both. So I was able to pick things up pretty quickly. For example, when I came back to Australia, I couldn't read English at 8. I could read Gaelic because that's what you learn in Scotland in those days. But I couldn't read English, so I knew a 42-letter alphabet, and so I had to relearn how to read again and all those sorts of things. But I was able to pick that up pretty quickly because I was reasonably smart, and because I was good at sport, I was a good runner and a good reasonable footballer. Then you fit in with that sort of crowd as well. So you make your friends pretty quickly, and no matter where you go, those two things will find you people reasonably quickly.
Yeah. Okay. And did you find making them friends tough, or was there any like moments were there any schools or moments you didn't enjoy?
No, not really, because I didn't know any different. I mean, I talked to my wife who went to one school for a whole 13, 14 years. And you can be envious of the fact that she's got friends from there. But at the end of the day, I didn't have a choice. I knew no different. So you just make it happen. You make it work. So did I have friends? Yes, I had good friends. I'm not in touch with a lot of them now because it just never built the depth that you do by spending 5, 6 years with people. And I moved halfway through year 6. I was actually school captain of my school in primary school. And then halfway through my HSC. So those bonds that you might finish going through those major transitions, I did that with new people rather than people I'd known for a while. So, but again, I knew no different. So you just get on with it. And I think it's shaped me a lot in terms of a lot of things that benefited me later on.
It does. And I say this to my best, like I've had one really close friend, he's like a brother to me. And we always say, like, we didn't live in the nicest area, but like sport just shaped us in the sense of, like you said, we made friends because we were really sporty. We made really good choices as a kid because we were sporty. So rather than getting involved in the drugs and the alcohol, we were playing sport. And because you can't do that when you're playing sport. So
no, and we were the same. And I played at a reasonable level, and obviously you did as well. And you just can't and don't get into that. You're in a different environment and different peers that are doing different things. So I never got into that sort of stuff.
So you said you don't talk to any of the childhood friends that you have now. Is there anyone who you think about who maybe you'd like to be in touch with, who made a significant impact as a child for you?
I had some good friends from time to time, and look, I'm on Facebook with a couple of them, but it's the Facebook friendship. But if you're on my Facebook, I've only got about 60 odd people on there, so I keep them. Look, there's a few people that we're good mates. There's one that's in Canada now that I remember when I came back to Sydney midway through my HSC, which is really hard. His name's Peter. He really took me under his wing, and I really appreciate. I'm still in touch with his brother a little bit, who's a musician. We've done a bit of music together. But I've lost touch with Pete. So if there was anything, anybody I would like to touch base from those days, it would be Peter. He became a federal policeman and then moved to Canada. So
wow,
he's underneath the radar. So I'm not sure what he's doing.
Interesting. So you said obviously you weren't particularly close with your parents. Who was your influence then as a child?
I had to make my own. I had some good teachers. I had a 6th class teacher, Mr. Kidner, who was really good and got me. He introduced me to Lord of the Rings, for example. So I don't know if you're a nerd in that way, like I was, but so I had some really good teachers that sort of recognised me. Another guy called Mike McLean, who was an athletics teacher in Melbourne. And I used to do a lot of cross-country running, and he saw me cross-country, and he says, "Why aren't you sprinting?" And I said, "Because I'm not a sprinter." And he said, "You are. I watched you run." And he actually coached me, and I actually became the 3rd ranked sprinter in Victoria as a 16-year-old. So people like that, and that drove me into more athletic pursuits and stuff like that. So, I mean, I knew I was fast. I think I was a sprinter. I could just run all day, and it never bothered me. But, I was ranked top 50 in the state as a cross-country and top 3 as a sprinter. So, I'd rather work 11 seconds than an hour.
Jeez. We'll have to have a race when you're next in Sydney. In town.
Fine. Sure.
Run around Barangaroo. So when you were a kid, what did you
Hmm.
think like today Mark would look like? Do you know what you wanted to be, what you wanted to do? What was your kind of
Look,
aspirations?
look, I had certain aspirations. I wanted to be a pilot,
Oh,
and that's where I pursued in the early days. But unfortunately, I'm red green colorblind, so they wouldn't let me in as a pilot, and that got me a bit lost. But I found myself working in computers. So I was working on the floor of the IBM building in Victoria in the mid 70s, and I say the floor because the floor was the computer in those days. A 1 megabyte disk was about 65 centimeters across and about 30 centimeters deep. And we
oh wow.
programmed them all by cards, and your output was a typewriter. So I've been with computers for that long. So I got into understood technology and probably went down the technology route. And had another friend who was very much into marketing, and sort of got to learn a little bit about what that meant in targeting and the importance of numbers and analysis, which I was actually really good at. So I had a rough view, but I left school and became an accountant because I was really good at numbers, and people said, you should become an accountant. And I'm a really bad accountant, but I am good at numbers.
Funny,
So,
the founder of the company I work for, he sells himself as I'm a failed accountant.
yeah,
Um,
well, I'd sell myself the same way. I understand numbers, but don't make me an accountant. I'm terrible.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you wanted to be a pilot, yeah. So you
Yeah,
definitely went down a different path. What took up most of your time as a kid, would you say?
sport.
Sport.
Sport. So that was my release. That was my yeah. Look, I was good academically, but I could do that without a lot of work. I was one of those shit kids that didn't have to study to get decent marks.
Oh,
But sport, I was quite often playing football or playing cricket, or in Melbourne, I was playing kick to kick AFL. I'd run. Yeah, sport was where you could fit in and do a whole bunch of stuff and make some friends. So I did a lot of
yeah,
that when I was a kid.
I can relate to that for sure. Did you like yourself as a kid?
I don't know that I ever thought about it. I wasn't very particularly secure in myself, but I don't recall not liking myself. I knew what I was good at and just went and did that. Just what I did. Probably more in my mid-20s and early 30s, I had more of those sorts of issues, as I think you do. But as a kid, I don't remember not liking myself. I felt I was awkward and gawky, but I think that's part of being a teenager.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to significant moments, do
Mm.
you recall a time where you had like your first failure or where something went wrong?
Yeah, look, I didn't take control of my finances early enough, and I was very generous. I was actually helping my parents out financially, and that was a really big issue because it left me in quite a big hole, and I ended up carrying that for some period of time, and it really did set me back quite significantly. So that was my first failure, just not believing in myself and not taking control of that stuff early enough to sort of set myself up and set my foundations up. Which probably delayed a lot of things later on. Now I caught up and did all that sort of stuff, but it is an area that if there's one part of my life would I go back and change, it's probably that time between sort of 18 when I started work and 24, 25, where I actually I found myself in a quite a big hole that I had to dig myself out of. And my auntie helped me dig me out. They gave me the support
Really?
to dig myself out. So yeah.
So you said you financially helped your parents out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I lent them tens of thousands of dollars,
Really?
which I never saw again. So yeah, so
Would you
that was a big issue. Now that's a thing you change. As an older person, you go, I didn't need to do that. I should have been standing on my own 2 feet. But it's hard as a kid.
there was sounds like there was no one there to tell you any different though.
No, there wasn't because you know my father had a gambling problem, so he needed the money for that, and my mother said, "Well, you've got to help us. We outlive." And I didn't sort of stand up and go, "Well, I need to live too." But that's again, it's what shapes you. But if you go back to that was my failure. And that, if I had to go back and change one thing in my life, that's the period of time I'd probably handle differently. Everything else led me to, and it still led me to where I am. And I think that's what you've got to look at, that sort of stuff. I'm not bitter about it. It's just something that happened.
It's a good way to look at it. What would you do differently?
I would be more selfish. Um, I think that's one of the things, we talk about what would you say to your past self? It's like, be more selfish. You've got your own life to live. And it's one of the things I sort of say to my son, yes, mum and dad are here, but you've got to live your life. And I'd probably live my life a bit better. That's what I would do differently. And pursue my dreams a bit harder earlier than I did.
Yeah. If you're comfortable to talk about what happened, would you tell me what happened with your parents?
Well, as I say, my father was alcoholic and he had a gambling addiction. So he could be violent as well, and lost his job and needed money. So I was working and funding him and funding me and funding that side. And eventually, and it didn't, I grew out of that as I got older. But in terms, that was a very, that impacted our relationship for the rest of his life. And in fact, for the last 16 years of his life, I didn't have any contact with him. He never met my son. He never met his grandson. So we really had a big falling out and just had nothing to do with each other. People say to me, do you hate him? And hate takes passion and energy. I just felt nothing. And I felt that the easiest way to deal with it. And, it shaped me as a person. It made me much more self-sufficient. And until my wife came on the scene, I was probably a little bit insular, had my walls up. And she took the pickaxe and knocked them all down. So she made me a much better person. But yeah, it does impact you. But at the end of the day, as I say, everything that happens to you is part of a journey that you've got to deal with. I don't wallow in it. I don't blame it for anything. It made me who I am.
And I'm definitely not making excuses for anybody who decides to be the way they are and mistreat people. But do you feel like your parents knew how to do anything differently?
No, I don't think they did. And that's it. They were who they were. And I'm sure they did their best. As you know, with kids, there's no instruction manual. You do the best you can. They just, for me, it didn't work. But that's, I don't think they were malicious. They just didn't know any better. They just were looking, they were looking after themselves. And for me, I just want to look after my son. Everything, I'd go without for him. They were the other way around. And that's just them. I don't make a judgment about that. It's just a comment.
So your dad's no longer around?
Neither my mum, my dad, or my brother are around. So my mother died last year. My father 7 years ago. My brother 13 years ago. So.
And you said you weren't close to your mum either?
No. My mother could never understand that, for my brother or I, that when we went and got married and had our own lives, that would be our centre. And my mother could never quite cope with that. So it was easier in the end. And she was particularly toxic to my wife. So it was easier just to sort of push that to the side at the end of the day. So,
did you cut ties completely?
For the last 2 years of her life, yes, I cut ties completely because of the damage it was doing to my own relationship. And this is where I said, I had to learn to become more selfish. The older me would have tried to make it work, or would have still put her there, but to become more selfish in terms of my happiness and my life, it was necessary to sort of cut that off.
I say this a lot. Being selfish is not a bad thing if you use it the right way. So
Indeed.
If you can look after yourself, you can have clear directions and communication with everybody else, so they can understand where you're at, where they're at, and then there's going to be no confusion. I think people who feel that they see the word selfish and they're like, oh, that's really bad to do that. You're just not considering other people. And it's not that. It's you have to look after yourself first before you look after others.
Yeah, I think if you haven't looked after yourself, you haven't got a foundation to actually achieve anything else. And I think that's what, selfish does have that very much a narcissistic view. And I think when we say selfish, we quite often mean narcissistic. But I think selfish is you have to look after yourself, your own health, your own mental well-being, because otherwise everything falls apart at the end and no one benefits. So,
yeah. And were there any other significant moments you can recall in your life?
Oh, meeting my wife was something. My brother dying when he was 48 was pretty tough. Was really tough, actually. I mean, he was my little brother, so you're supposed to look after your little brother. And you often go back, and even now, 13 years later, you think, could I have done something different? He and I were pretty close. We spoke a lot. We visited. He was agoraphobic, so he had issues going outside certain areas. And him, he died from neglect. He couldn't get to a doctor, and he had a perforated bowel. And you often think, could you have done anything different? Now, the short answer is no. He was a grown up, he had his own choices, and he made those choices in the end. But that was a pretty tough time watching him go.
How have you coped with all of that? It sounds like you've had obviously parents who have not been around. You're losing your brother, who it sounds like you're pretty close with. How have you coped?
You just do. I mean, I think part of it is, and part of my early life moving around a lot, you just grow a lot of resilience, and you just got to keep moving forward. You got to look for the good things. And even now, things happen. Life gets in the way, and I just keep saying, this is an obstacle, not a roadblock. Just deal with the obstacle. And I think that's how I learned to deal with it. You just deal with it, look forward, and look for the good stuff in life. I mean, I have a good life. I have a really good life. But there are sometimes you need to sit back and reflect on that. When you look at the stuff that happened, and then if you sit back and reflect and go, actually, on balance, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm white, middle class male in a really good country. I have a lot of privilege. I should celebrate that. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's like you said earlier as well. No one can give you a book of how your life's going to be, or no one's even going to give you a book of how to cope with these kind of things. But I don't know if you agree. I feel like you get to these moments in life and you have a choice, and I think you hit roadblocks where you can take one direction or the other. Just like I was saying with your childhood, when you could either get mixed up in the crappy stuff, or you can actually go down like the sport avenue, which I did. I feel like you have a choice. Do you feel like that you've had, like, throughout these moments, you've had a choice and you've taken the right direction and has put the path that you're in, or do you feel like that your life is written for you? It's on a script.
Oh no, I think I made choices. I could easily have, I went down the sporting route as well, but even later on, I made choices to move forward and not to let these things shape and define me. And you see people who go, "Oh, my childhood was this. I'm like this because of my childhood." I am like this because of my childhood. Yes, my childhood shaped me, but I don't let it define me. So you've got to make these choices. And as I say, you look forward and what is it you want to achieve, and have some goals, and how you're going to achieve those goals, and how you're going to make all that happen. So yeah, I made choices, and as I say, I call them obstacles. Obstacles are there to go around. Roadblocks can stop you. Obstacles, you might take a detour, you might make a choice. How do you remove the obstacle and move forward? So it is a case of moving forward. And my wife and I have a saying, the universe is unfolding as it should. It doesn't care about you. You just got to accept what it brings and react to it. What if it doesn't always work?
Have you always had that mindset?
I think I've always had it to a point. I think it is stronger now as I've got a bit older. I mean, even, as you know, I play a bit of guitar. I even wrote a song about exactly that in the last probably 6 or 8 months. But yeah, I think it's always there because of where I've ended up. I didn't let things sort of stop me or get on top of me too much for long periods of time. I kept moving forward and I kept having a goal. But yeah, I just, now more than ever, it's like the universe is unfolding as it should. React to it, and as I said, I'm really privileged, and I have to appreciate that. There are people who don't live my lifestyle.
Yeah. Have you ever had, up until the moment where you're at now, have you ever had to kind of fake it till you make it, or like lie to yourself or pretend to be someone else, just to get yourself out of that mind?
Oh yeah, there are times you get down. I mean, I've had, mental health is something we recognise a lot more now. And I've certainly had some mental health issues, and certainly the last 3 years, I had some significant ones. And you basically have to fake it. And this is where you sort of have to say the universe is unfolding, react to it, make it happen, Mark. But sometimes you actually have to sit and have that talk. It's a really conscious thing, and that's where you are sometimes faking it. And that's also where you lean. I think as I've got older, I've got good friendship groups, and I think that's where you've got to learn to lean on them. Sometimes they're there for you, and if they're not a friendship group. But I've found all sorts of different people who might have surprised me, have been there to sort of help you through some of these bits and pieces. So I think it's always time you've got to fake it. Yeah. But the faking it is part of the process to making sure you get to the other side.
Yeah. And you mentioned your wife quite a few times. Would you say she's been a significant part of shaping you who you are?
The most significant part, knowing that that there is unconditional, she's always going to be there. Even when I foul up, even if I'm an arsehole in public, and she'll tell me in private. She's always got my back. She's always there, and as I am for her. She's. We got married in 2000. We've been going out now for 27 years, married for 25. She's the most significant thing that helped me move forward. So from my mid-30s onwards.
Nice. How did you meet?
Through work. I was working for Sharp, and Sharp are a really big brand. She worked for the agency that we handled. I was their biggest client, and the managing director was my account person. And she used to sit outside the managing director's office. I thought she was cute. And one day, and I mentioned this to the PR girl at the agency, and apparently she must have mentioned to the PR girl that she thought I was cute, and this PR girl match made us. And just basically one day I was talking to the PR girl, and she said, hang on a sec. And the next thing I knew, I was talking to Adele, my wife. And I said, I think Melissa wants us to go out. So we had our first date, 23rd of February, 1999. And here we are, best part of 27 years later.
Yeah, wow. It's coming up to it as well there.
Yeah, we'll be, we're going to be in Malaysia for it, so it'll be fun.
Nice. You love a holiday. It's one thing I know about you, Mark.
Well, as we've got older, and this is where I talk about privilege, we have the ability to travel. So while our health is good, and our health is good, and we're fit, and we're partly with the decisions we made, partly because of luck, we take the opportunity to travel. So yeah, we're off to Malaysia for just a couple of weeks, starting next Friday, actually.
Nice. I look forward to hearing about it. And in terms of in your adulthood, was there anything that you felt like you made a significant change to who you were before to make the person that you are now?
I think I stopped trying to prove myself, and I became more considered with my actions. And that was a process. I was saying to my wife this morning, I remember in the late 80s, I had a manager who taught me to be more considered about the way I reacted to things. And I've learned to do that, to react more slowly, and to believe in myself, and to believe that, I'll make the right decision. If I make the wrong decision, it's a learning, change it and move on, and make mistakes quickly. So, I've become more confident in me. I don't think there was any one great moment. My wife was the great moment, but even that was a growing process. But yeah, I just think I don't need to prove myself anymore, because I know there's someone who's always at my back. And my son, now he's turned 22, 23, he was a bit of a 16-year-old teenager for a long time there. He's always there too, and we have a wonderful relationship, which is really good.
That's so nice. And I guess as well, you've learned how to be a dad through how you probably weren't treated throughout your childhood.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you can go two ways. I know my father also had a very tough childhood, but he sort of kept that moving, whereas I sort of went the other way, and just always tried to keep communication open. And there were days when he was younger, he used to tell me things, in his teens and what he was doing, and it was always don't react, because you want to go, oh my God, don't do that. But it's like, that's not going to have any impact. It's like, well, what do you think about that? Why are you doing that? So you just learning communication, I think, has been so important. And the saying, communicate or disintegrate. And I think that's something that my wife and I have, and it's certainly something that I've tried to keep really open with my son. And we speak, 4 or 5 times a week. He rings me every day on the way to work, which is a privilege which I really revel in.
That's lovely.
you spend about 80% of the time with your kids by the time they turn 18 and move out of home. And he moved out of home during COVID. So that was even cut short for us. But that communication, that he still talks to us. He still rings me up. He sends my wife, he's got a couple of cats, sends her cat videos of his cats. But me, he rings up and talks about what he's doing for work and what he's doing at uni and all those sorts of things. And I think that's an absolute privilege that my son wants to talk to me.
Absolutely. I think if you're, I don't have kids yet, but I always think about if my kids, when they're older, they want to hang out with me, you know, you've done something right.
Yeah. And he now wants to hang out with us. And I think, yep, we did okay. He's a good person. You know, he's kind, he's compassionate, he's a great friend, he's inclusive. And we look at him sometimes and go, yeah, we did all right with him. There were times we thought, my God, what sort of parents have we been? But he's a really good person. And I think, yeah, we did all right with him.
Yeah, it sounds it. No, that's beautiful to hear. It's lovely to hear that you have a nice relationship. Did you enjoy parenthood?
Oh, like all parenthood has got its times. But yes, I think we're older parents. I was 40 when he was born. So, and most of the cohort of his parents were all younger than us. But the people who were we had older parents as well. And they used to say, one of them said to me, you'll love every stage. Every stage is the best stage. You never want them to move through it. Then they move to the next stage and go, oh my God, this is fantastic. Now, except for when he was, 15 to about 19, I'd agree with that. 15 to 19-year-old teenage boys are pretty horrible. But in fact, maybe to 21. But there are some challenges. But he's been really rewarding. And as I say, you look back at the person he is now and go, yeah, I enjoyed parenthood because we did a good job with him.
Do you feel like somebody or something has saved you or made you the person that you are now?
I'd have to say my wife, but my life, the way it unfolded, and my own character of being resilient. And I think sport does that. You do sport. I think there's a certain resilience and a certain mindset in highly competitive sport you need to have. And I think that carries on into your life. But yeah, my wife coming into my life in my 30s did that. And then my son gave me something else. I mean, we talk about being selfish, but look after yourself so you can look after him as well. And I think that made a big difference as well.
Sounds like you've had to disappoint, I guess, your parents a bit by cutting ties with them to be who you are now.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest people I disappointed. Particularly, they didn't really have a relationship with my son, and I think my mother particularly would have wanted that, but it just wasn't the right thing. But look, there are friends that we've also sort of, I won't say cut off, but stopped being so close with. People who aren't always positive in your life, and you have friends which are there for the periods of time they're there, and some of them you keep forever. And I've got friends I've had for 20 odd years. But there are others that are there for periods of time, and if you move on before they, maybe you disappoint them. But I think you've got to keep moving on sometimes, and you might be changing or going in a different direction, and you might disappoint people. But in the end, I think it works out.
So, moving on to current day, right now, who are you? If I had to ask, who are you?
Oh, I'm a work in progress, Aidan. I'm still learning. It's funny. When you look back at the beginning of your career, and I would have been looking at people my age, I'm like, God, that's old. But yeah, there's still life to live, and I'm a guy. I'm probably more optimistic than I've been in a long time. There are circumstances that shape me, but I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress. I still look after myself. I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm happy. But I'm a guy that likes to listen. I like to learn. I like to try and have new experiences. Hence, we like to travel. I recorded my first ever piece of music. I've been playing guitar for 40 years, and I recorded my first music in January, which was really exciting. Went to a studio, laid down a whole bunch of different tracks, just finalizing production on an EP, which I released in my 60s. That's there's still stuff to learn and do, and I'm that person. I still want to learn, still want to experience stuff. You don't stop.
because we had a brief chat about that, and we were saying how, like, for me, this is my creativity, this is my play. I
Yeah.
absolutely love speaking to people, and yours sounds like his music as well.
Yes, it is.
What
Yeah.
what sparked you to just start doing it?
I've always written music. So
Yeah.
one of the songs I recorded, I wrote in 1986. So
Wow.
and another one I wrote in 1984, but the 86 one I'm really proud of. So I've always done it. It was a mate who we've been friends. He's a musician. He's quite a good one. He's got a studio, and he's been nagging me for probably 2 to 3 years. Mark, you've got to come to the studio with me. You've got to come to the studio with me. And I'm now at a stage with where I am with work and where I am with what I'm doing in my world that I went, yep, if I don't do it now, when do I do it? And it was
Mm.
nerve wracking. I'm not a singer, but I sang. One of them's got 4 different vocal tracks on it, all mine.
Love that.
And it's taking that courage and believing yourself to do it. And you know what? No one's going to listen to it, but I'm pretty proud that I did it.
Well, I'm going to share it if you send it to me. So
When it's finished, I will share it to you, and I will put it on
please
Spotify.
do.
But it's one of those things I'm not really expecting. It's not going to be a hit record. It's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
It's my expression. I mean, I write about my life and the universe is unfolding. I wrote one called "Seize the Day" about I lost 2 aunties very quickly, which really impacted me. I write a lot about my wife and our travels and what we learn and our relationship. So it's just me expressing myself. That's my creativity.
Yeah. Would you want to talk more about your aunties? I'd be keen on exploring that.
It was more like my aunties. They were mother's sisters who I was actually pretty close to. They were 2 very, very vital women that you just thought were going to live forever. One of them was 87, one was 80. And the 87-year-old, my mother's older sister, Anne, she was amazing. Like she was the one that helped me out when I was in financial issues all those years ago back with my parents. And we were always really close. And I was close to her kids, my cousins. And we were chatting away, and she rang me one day and said, "Oh, I'm at the hospital." She was up the Sam, which is just up the road from me. And I've always said, if you get there, let us know. We'll come up. We were there. My wife went up. We massaged her feet. We chatted. We were there for 2.5, 3 hours. And then I got a call from my cousin on the Tuesday that she died. She just decided it was her time, and it's just like, holy crap! All the things that maybe we didn't say. I mean, we had a great time. We never would have picked it. And at her funeral, my other auntie, came and stayed with me. She said, "I've got a really sore shoulder." And she was a librarian up at the University of New England. She was an academic. She worked for CSIRO. Really smart, well-read woman, well-travelled. And it turned out that the pain in the shoulder was motor neuron disease, and she was dead by October in 4 months.
That
And
quick.
it just that was great. And I wrote this song called "Seize the Day" about it, and it was really about time's a thief. Make the most of the time you've got it and celebrate with the people who are here, because you just never know, for you, for them. I mean, yes, I'm healthy, but I always say I could drop tomorrow if that's my time. So you live your life, and I think that's what that taught me, and really hammer home is you live your life, and that's where we talked about before, being selfish is do the things that are going to make you happy, because you may not get the opportunity tomorrow.
Yeah. If you're not hurting people, or you're not in it, like, physically, and you're not being a hindrance on anybody, I don't see why not. Like, be different, be creative, do what makes you happy.
Yeah, I think that's really important to do that sort of stuff, and live your life with the people you're with. We don't destroy stuff, build stuff, create stuff. Be a good friend, be an ear to people. And I've got a guy, we catch up every week. He lives 2 streets away. I've known him for 20 odd years, and we just catch up together every 2 weeks and talk crap.
Sounds nice.
My wife says to me, "What did you talk to Jerome about?" I said, "No, I don't know. We just talked."
That's such a wife question, and such a husband answer. I do the same.
Well, it is. He's one of his kids ran off the rails, and he once for a time he was talking about that. I talked about my aunties last year, and it just, I think male fellowship is really important. I don't think blokes do it very well very often. You need male friends that you can just talk to, and not always over drink. I mean, we were drinking Daintree tea last week when we did it. So it's just, you know, I think that fellowship is really important, and I think a lot of, as men, European men, we miss out on that, or Anglo men. Probably Europeans do better than the Anglos. I think Anglo men, we learn to, we taught to bottle everything up, and I think you need to let that go sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you afraid or scared of anything now?
No, I don't think so. Letting my wife down, but I don't think I'm scared of that. It's just something I don't want to do. No, I don't think so. I'm living a good life. I say I'm living my best life. Yeah, I have a good life. So no,
Yeah.
I'm not scared. Will it end? It's going to end. So, but I'm not scared of it ending. I've just got to make the most of what's here.
What do you think's going to happen at the end? Do you have any faith, or do you think there's going to be
No,
another?
no. Look, I had a lot of faith when I was younger. I was very heavily involved in the church, but I grew out of it. And when I had a group of friends who were atheists, and from talking to them, when I sort of realised that that's, I didn't have a belief system. I didn't have faith. It actually was almost like a burden taken off me, and it gave me almost a license to live for now. And I think not having a faith system encourage you to live for now, because I don't think there's an afterlife. I'm not going to experience happiness for eternity, so better do it now.
Have you ever felt like you've had signs from people though who have passed?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I was close to my grandmother. I've been close to people, and you can sort of go, fairly help me here, but no, I don't really think I've had any signs from people that have passed. Nothing that I've recognised anyway. Otherwise, I might have a different system. But
I have a funny story. My mum, I remember being at home. My mum was saying, "Look, the dog was called Bailey. The dog is my grandma. Look, I'll say her name." Mum was saying her name. Dog's getting all excited, and I was like, "Mum, that's bullshit." I was like, so I started pulling out all these random like names, like, and I was even saying like, "Oh, shithead, look, come here, shithead," and the dog's coming up to me, getting all excited and jumping up and down. I was like, "See," I was like,
it's
"You
tone
can
of
say it."
voice.
Say it in a high pitched voice, and the dog will get excited. It's not your nan.
Yeah, but look,
Funny.
I think each to their own. I think for me, not having a faith works, but for others having, and the guy I go with, meet every 2 weeks, very devout Catholic, and that works for him. So I mean, it's just, I don't judge people. I think everyone's got to live their own world and their own life and what works for them. And if he's right and I'm wrong, well, he's got a good eternity and I maybe don't. But at the end of the day, that's the choices.
You seem to me you have this philosophy, which is you've got one life, give it a go, give it your best shot. That's all you can do, because you only got
live your
one
best
chance.
life. Yeah, and I think that's what I tell my younger self is you've only got one life, live it. I think when you're younger, in your 20s and you're still finding out and settling yourself into your career, you're still trying to live for other people, like your parents, your bosses, the people you're trying to impress. I think one of the benefits of becoming an old fart is you live for you a lot more, and you want to live your life. And I think you get understanding life is finite. I probably, if I'm lucky, I've got 30 odd years left. It's like most of those 30 years, let's, go and do stuff and experience stuff. And it is about, for me, it's now about experience. It's not about things. And I'm fortunate. I have a lot of, I have enough things, but it is what experiences can I learn and have. And that's very much about what we're trying to do. And that's, you talk about holidays and travel, that's what we try to do. We try to have experiences that we can learn stuff from.
Nice. Do you ever feel misunderstood?
Oh, I think everyone does from time to time, but that's probably as much me as anything else. If I haven't got my communication or I haven't found the way to talk to that person, but less and less now, and it's less and less of a, for me, it's less and less important. If I'm not getting through to you, then we're not on the right wavelength. There might be reasons for that. I don't feel misunderstood by the people I'm close to very often. And when I am, it's probably something I've done wrong, so I can adjust that. But no, I don't feel that misunderstood anymore by people I care about and who I think care about me.
Yeah. What would you now, that you are who you are, what would you tell your past self?
Stop trying to be more. Stop trying to make everyone happy. Focus. You've only got the one life, and I think that's it. You be that selfish. Have more patience. That the world's going to happen, and don't what if. I mean, I did a lot of what ifing, and a lot of decisions I made early days were on stuff to avoid stuff that never happened, to avoid hurt or to avoid pain or to avoid a situation I thought was going to happen. And it would be more patient. You've got resilience. Just work through what happens to you and react to that. And just to say you're a good person, because I think as a young, when you're young and you don't always feel like a good person, and it'll turn out all right.
Is there anything you wish for in life?
Good friends and health and fun experience. That's what I wish for. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm fortunate in that I think that's what I've got. I've got good health. As I've just had all my January checks. I've got good health. I've got good friends. My wife's my best friend, but I have another group of, a group of friends, mostly male, who I could call upon and talk to and speak to about all sorts of stuff, and my son, and have experiences, and that could be something I'm reading, something I'm playing, something I'm learning, something I'm doing. So that's what I wish for, and I'm fortunate that that's mostly what I'm getting. So I'm very fortunate.
Do you believe in fate?
I believe the universe happens and you can react to it, whether that's fate or not. I don't. I think your choices matter. So I don't think fate is a totally arbitrary or directionless thing. You can't control stuff. You can't control other people's reactions. You can't control what's happening in the world. You can only control how you react to it. So whether that's fate, but I think what you do control is your reaction and how you respond. And I think that's what I try to focus on. I don't get it right all the time, but that's what I try to focus on is my responses and my reactions.
Yeah. And what are your values in life?
I want to be reliable. That if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be prepared for it, and I'm patient. I like to think I'm quite compassionate, and that if you needed something, I would be there to help you. It might be tough sometimes. It might be tough love, and that's the hardest thing with your kids quite often. But yeah, look, I want to be reliable and compassionate and patient, and I'm quite a calm person. So that helps me when the poo is hitting the rotating blades. Being calm and reliable can really help you.
Yeah,
rather than just reacting.
Do you? I'm reading about basically how men are and how to be more of a significant man, basically, and do what's right in society and communities. It was just a super interesting read. It basically says that they don't. It's not gospel, but you tend to find if somebody's like the man's more of a kind of cool character, they probably sometimes partner with partners who are more of that kind of fiery character. Is that something, or would you say you're more kind of, you pair together as a cool characters, you and your wife?
No, my wife is not a cool character. She's she's the yin and the yang. So on the Chinese astrology symbol, she's a dragon, I'm a tiger, which is yin and yang. And yeah, look, where I'm calm, considered, and I take my time on a lot of things. She's out there jumping around and bull at a gate and tends to react to stuff. And so where it works is I can pull her back. And quite often she gives me the spark to keep myself and move forward. Because one of the issues about sometimes being a bit calm and considered is you can be a little bit slow. So so that balance works really well. She spurs me on, I hold her back, and we find 90% of the time a happy balance.
Yeah, it's that positive and negative force as well. It's the polars. They seem to click.
Yeah, they do. But I think it's also, I think part of it comes from respect. I mean, we respect each other.
Yeah.
And respect that's part of our character. I mean, she said really early on, you speak Deliese, which is her own little language. So we just get each other, and I think I'm not saying I get on with every fiery person and passionate person, but this particular one, we work well together. We understand each other, and we understand our language and our science. So it's really important.
I'm the same. But you learn so much from each other because it's just a different perspective as well.
Yes, a different view of the world and a different view of detail. But she would have been, if she was good at numbers, she'd be a great accountant. She's so good at detail. But I got the number stuff, but detail's not it's not what I enjoy.
Are you, you said, because you said you plan, but then you also said you kind of just give things a go. So you kind of got a nice blend by the sounds of it.
You've got to have a road. You're part of what, as you know, I'm a marketer, and you have marketing plans, but you've got to be able to understand that if situations change, you might need to take a different turn. You've got to understand when to push through and when to work around. But we are planners. You talk about travel. I have a travel spreadsheet that goes out to 2038, which is a long way of the sort of travel you want to do, which takes into account what we think you're going to be doing health-wise, how our physical abilities are going to be, they will deteriorate over time. So it is like all the physical stuff is now, and probably for the next 5 or 7 years. But then we recognise we'll slow down, so we've planned those holidays out until 2038. So, but one of them might change. So we went to Borneo last year, which had been on our list, but wasn't probably for another 2 or 3 years. But there was this really good deal that came up, and went, you know what, let's do it now. We're both in the position. So we went and spent 2 weeks in Borneo in July last year, and spent my wife's birthday there overlooking the sunsets at Kota Kinabalu. So,
wow,
yes, plan, but build flexibility in your plans, because I'm not God. Things will change.
Yeah. And obviously, music, travel, your hobbies, any other hobbies, sport?
Sport. I still play sport.
Yeah.
If you call it that. And look, I play sport. I still play football. But a lot of it is about male fellowship. And it is a team that we're competitive. We did really well last year. But probably the best part is we play at 1 o'clock. We deliberately, one of the guys is on the committee of the whole association, so make sure we always play at 1, because that lets us have a barbecue, a beer, and sledge the 3 o'clock game.
Perfect.
So we give them advice of what they should be doing on the football field. Some of it's not always well received, and that's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon in winter.
Love that.
And that's really important to do that sort of stuff. So sport. I read an awful lot, fiction, non-fiction, pulp, literature. People say to me, "What do you read?" Well, I read everything from pulp science fiction to proper science fiction to thrillers to literature to non-fiction stuff to philosophy. I just read. So,
what are you reading at the moment?
Pulp fiction, a book called The Murder Rule by Derva McTiernan. She writes. Okay. She's an Irish woman that lives in Perth and writes sort of thrillers. So, before that was a Tom Wolfe, and before that was a Noah Harari, one of his philosophical books. So,
nice.
I read all sorts of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, this in a green screen is actually it's like they're my books. It's 3 years ago I said I need to read, so I just opened a book. It doesn't matter if it's a page or a few. Like every day for the last 3 years I've done that.
It makes a big difference, and to your communication and your escape. I mean, Pulp Fiction is an absolute escape. So it's been great.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And are you happy, Mark? It sounds like you have a.
Yes, I am. Sorry. Yes, look, I am happy. I'm really satisfied with my world, and I'm really satisfied with how my life has turned out. And I think that's a big learning. It's there are times when you're younger that you just don't know. But I have a really good life. I'm really happy. I've got the health and the resources to enjoy the world, and that's what more can you ask for in this world?
So right. And your physical health's good, your mental health's good?
Yeah, it is good. My mental health, like all mental health, can go up and down. And as I said, I've had some challenges over the last 2-3 years with what happened in my previous company, which you're aware of. But I'm in a good spot. I've got a good support network, and that helps your mental health. But physically, I'm in as one of the doctors said to me, "You're in good shape," and I said, "For my age," and he said, "No, no, Mark, you're in good shape," and I think that's really good. So I'm going to take advantage of
Nice.
that.
Yeah, nice. It's I heard this years ago and it's just stuck in my brain. Like if you sprain an ankle or you do something physical, you go straight to the doctors. Where if
Yeah,
you're like if you're I can't remember the word he even used was just completely different to mental health. It was mental fitness.
yeah,
So if your mental fitness is low, no one you kind of everyone seems to just kind of we'll be all right, we'll just figure it out and don't get it checked as much. So
no, I don't think we recognise. I don't think we've. I think we're getting better at it. I think the generations behind even you, certainly behind me, have got better at recognising it and therefore treating it.
mm,
But I think, the generation before me and my generation was just like, just get on with it.
mm,
Stop chucking a
yeah.
salt, take a teaspoon of cement and move on. And there are times that is the right option, but there are also times that is not the right option. And I think we're getting better as society and as a group of people recognising that. And you're right,
Mm,
and I took the opportunity in the last 2 to 3 years to actually address it, and it's made a difference. And yeah, everyone has ups and downs, of course you do,
mm.
but generally, I reflect and I've done okay, and I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating story, to be honest. I feel like throughout your whole journey, you have had their moments where something could have happened. You could have gone down the wrong road. You could have made a
Mm.
mistake. And maybe you did sometimes, but it sounds like you learned from it and you've progressed into the person that you are today. And you're very positive. Have a lot of gratitude, which I think is a big thing in life because people don't. They just take things for granted. Um, and you're happy. I
Yeah,
think that's wealth. That's wealth. Like,
that's the
don't
true
worry.
wealth. Health and
Yeah,
happiness are the true wealth.
yeah. The
Yeah,
the
and
money.
thank you. And I'd like to think I am grateful. I mean, we came from hard stuff. It
Mm,
hasn't always been great, but I think that when you do achieve things, that does make you grateful. I mean, you can go two ways: is gratefulness or arrogance. And hopefully, I've never gone into the arrogance piece. But yeah, I'm really grateful
mm,
for the people that helped shape me and help me through my life, and that includes all sorts of people.
yeah. And what I also find fascinating as well is a lot of people who don't have the strong bond with parents, because childhood makes a big difference who you are as
Mm.
a person. They tend to either spiral or they might use somebody else as an influence, but it's like you took it in yourself and you took pieces from other people as well, but that really made you discover who you are as a person so you can then live the journey and live the life that you've led.
Yeah, I think so. I think we talk about choices, and I made the choices, and I had some
Mm,
really good you know mentors through my life. Some of them might have been an auntie, some
mm,
friends. I had some wonderful managers and peers through my career that have really impacted me and given me advice that I've taken on board.
mm,
Had some pretty awful ones too, as we all have. But yeah, and I think I've been fortunate that the choices I've made have tended to be the right choices and have led me to a good spot. But it would have been
mm.
very easy early on to go down a very different path, which being academic and sporty probably helps you not do that. But yeah, I ended up okay.
Yeah. And the people who you do unfortunately lose, like you said, unfortunately everybody does have an end date. So
Mm.
while it is hard, like you said, it's it does shape who you are. But the biggest things you can take away from that is that you are lucky enough to have them memories with them and share that relationship with them, so that and you live in their legacy, right? Because you
Yeah,
act and behave the way that they taught you who to be.
yeah, and they might have been there for a period of time that you needed them, or
Mm,
you might have had that relationship because of something that both of you were experiencing in that period of time.
mm,
But then that experience changes, and therefore it becomes less imperative to have that type of person in your world.
mm.
Um, so and that happens.
Yeah.
Don't regret it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Well,
Keep moving forward.
thank you so much for sharing your story. I've
It's been an absolute pleasure.
thoroughly
Thank you.
enjoyed it. No, it's been great fun, and yeah, I wish you nothing but all the best with all your travels and everything that you do, and we'll keep in touch for sure. Absolutely.
Oh well, and thank you, and look, and good luck with this, and thank you for letting me take part, mate. It's I regard you as one of those people that is a positive influence in my world. I mean, we speak reasonably regularly, and I really enjoy our chats, and thank you for letting me be part of your of this a project of yours.
Pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.